Yep, that's right.
Okay, we are back in the record. Mr. Colkman, you may continue.
Did you ever discuss with any council members to obligate their obligations under Section 23 of the Charter regarding the annual audit?
Yes, sir.
And did you ever receive any information that any decisions were altered or influenced regarding these developers and Ms. Todd communicating where her husband may or may not hunt?
I don't have any information on that.
Okay, so you didn't, do you know that, who makes those decisions that they were applying for?
I don't know. They go back years. I did not research back and try to figure out anything that may or may not have occurred with any of them. I strictly went by the emails and the information I had.
Okay, so, and do you know if Ms. Todd you don't have any information that she exerted any influence in any of the decisions?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
You don't have any information to believe Ms. Todd exerted any influence or any decision in regard to those individuals?
I couldn't speak to that.
Is that a no?
That's a no. I don't have any information on that.
I have no further questions, thank you.
You're right.
Yes, thank you. So, first, with respect to the discussion about the complaint that was received about the officer, can you confirm so it's clear, you searched Ms. Todd's email to see if there's any record of that being forwarded anywhere, is that correct?
That is correct.
And you found no record of it being forwarded or shared, at least via email?
That's correct.
Okay. So, you referenced before the concept of this section 23 regarding audits, and I'll ask you to turn your attention to that in the joint exhibit. It's on page 13 of the charter. So, the second sentence says, it shall be the duty of the auditor to audit the accounts of the town and all its,
the accounts of
the town,
thank you.
and all its officers whose duty involves the collection, custody, and payment of monies to the town. Do you recall reviewing an email from Ms. Todd about the K-9 program to Council Member Donovan and the chief, where she emphasizes that she's responsible for the financial aspects of the town?
I do. I think that was part of her objection.
Right. And here, would you agree, or from your understanding of just the English language, are not these activities involving the collection of monies and the things listed financial aspects of the town?
They are, yes.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to also direct your attention to the section of the charter that references specifically the town manager. So, and this is page 11. And if you look at section 19, just looking here from it, there are a few items I want to specifically draw your attention to, if you'll bear with me for a moment. So section 19A1, the town manager is responsible to the town council for the proper administration of the affairs of the town of Greenwood placed in the town manager's care. Is it not true that you reviewed minutes?
I'm sorry, can you give me, is it?
Sure, this is 19E1.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was over there. Okay.
E1.
Say that again, the section.
19E1. Says the town manager is responsible to the town council for the proper administration of the affairs of the town of Greenwood, placed in the town manager's charge.
Yes, sir.
And so you testified before, I think during both your direct and cross-examination, that there were votes of council taken asking Ms. Todd to follow up and address items involving the audit. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When Ms. Todd spoke to you, did she dispute the fact during her answers to your questions that she was directed to address items involving the audit?
No, she did not.
So she never said, I was never told to follow up and address the audit issues. She never said anything like that.
That's correct.
Okay. In section E3, a little further down, it says, the town manager serves as the tax collector for the town unless the town council appoints another individual or entity as tax collector. I think you said you reviewed the town's employees and minutes. Are you aware of anyone who was appointed overseer, as it were, of collecting taxes?
Jack, I don't know, there's no allegation regarding the collection of taxes.
Asking a question of knowledge. Either knows.
And frankly,
Either knows or doesn't know, so you can
yeah,
ask.
so are you aware of whether or not anyone else was appointed to oversee collection of taxes?
I am not aware of any.
Okay. Would you agree that furthermore, collection of taxes is one of the financial aspects of the town?
I would agree with that statement.
Okay. Then if you go to page 12, there's a section G. You see that section?
I do.
It says that the town manager shall do all the following. Supervise the administration of the affairs of the town under the town manager's charge. Make reports to the town council as required by the town council. And then skipping down to 4, keep the town council advised of the financial condition and future needs of the town. There's another one that, right below that, prepare and submit to the town the annual budget estimate.
Again, prepare and submit to the town?
To the town, the annual budget estimate. And then there's others having to do with rendering accurate accounts of monies collected or received. And it says, there's a catch-all here at the bottom, the town manager shall perform other duties as may be prescribed. In your understanding, looking at those, that outline of responsibilities, is there anyone else, based upon your investigation, that would be responsible for addressing, for example, the status of the audit, the status of any vendors responsible to address the audit?
No, not at all. There's only one person that would be the town manager.
Okay. So, I know that there was, some other, questions on direct. Questions about like who made what recordings of interviews. Is it fair to say that the reason you made the recordings of Ms. Todd and Mr. Massey's interviews is because they themselves were making recordings of them?
That is the only reason, yes.
So it's not like you selectively chose to record theirs and decided not to for some other reason. That was the sole reason.
That is a correct statement.
There's a number of questions about a May 14th, 2025 council meeting. Do you recall that line of questioning?
I do.
And I think you had testified before that you had asked Ms. Todd to provide any information that would be pertinent, and you followed up with her to ask if she had pertinent information. Did she raise the issue of this meeting during your questioning of her?
Not that I recall.
And you spoke to her for 3 hours?
A little over 3 hours, yes.
So it's your testimony, and I heard the line of questioning from my friend, Mr. Feliquin. So it's your testimony that during 3 hours, she never once raised the issue of a meeting that took place and consistent with the descriptions offered by Mr. Feliquin. She simply never raised that to you during the entire 3 hours you spoke to her.
Not to my recollection, no.
She didn't follow up afterwards and say, oh, by the way, you know, you should look at this meeting either via phone or email, right?
No, she did not.
Okay. In terms of the timeframes, there's been some questioning about timeframes. To your understanding, how long has Ms. Todd served as town manager?
Numerous years. I know she started employment here in 2019 and about a year or so later. And has learned through redirect around 2021, if that's accurate. So certainly numerous years before I got here.
Okay. There was also some questions asked of you about needing to address records and audits being on hold or held up. There was a question about a document, I think an email or a letter from PKS. Do you recall that line of questioning?
I do.
To your understanding, based upon the numerous financial responsibilities that are elucidated in the charter, who would be responsible for maintaining the records that come in? Like if a vendor is paid or if taxes are collected or something along those lines, who's keeping those records?
The town manager.
Okay. In terms of the overtime issue that you outlined in your report, is it accurate that you went through the numerous pay sheets that were provided and looked at them to examine whether or not there were records which appeared to reflect payment of overtime to Ms. Todd?
I did. I went through and looked at all the records, looked for notes, and actually looked and found the timesheets that aligned with the overview of dates and years. So I was able to see what they were there.
So you didn't just take a summary and say, well, I'm accepting the summary. You actually dug into the records and looked to see what was there.
Looked in to verify.
No,
yes,
Jack, I mean, I let a lot of cross go, like, but this is very, like, cross can, leading questions is getting.
Rephrase.
You reviewed all the records in making your conclusion,
I did.
specifically the payroll records?
I did.
Okay. And those are the records that are here before council today.
Yes.
Did you ever find any indications? I may have asked this I may have asked this on direct, but I'll just ask it again to make sure the record's clear. Did you ever find any indication that Ms. Todd, to your understanding, had sought out and gotten approval to receive overtime payment?
There was no record of it. I had asked her for it. She had indicated I have emails or minutes, but she never sent them to me, so I found nothing.
And you reviewed the handbook in the course of analyzing the overtime issue.
I did.
And what does the handbook say about processing overtime?
In short, from my memories, that overtime needs to be approved by the supervisor, and that hourly employees are entitled to it, salaried or not.
So, to be clear, there were some questions asked about like whether you're a wage and hour expert or you're familiar with the Fair Labor Standards Act. You didn't look at that question of exempt or non-exempt. You simply examined the records.
Correct.
In terms of the suspension, there are some questions asked about that. Did you understand why Ms. Todd was put on a paid suspension?
Yes.
And why was it, to your understanding?
Considering the allegations of particularly the overtime payments, the the actions with the audits, the reconciliation, as well as other matters that they felt would be in best interest if she was out on paid leave. Again, this helps to remove individuals from the environment so you can get a fair and uninfluenced investigation. And to some degree, it helps to shelter or protect the person who may be the subject, to get them out of the environment so they're not subject to undue pressures or tension at the workplace.
And when you say shelter, you mean like if somebody were being subject to retaliation, they'd be removed from a retaliatory environment?
Yes, that could be one, if I hear you correctly. Yes, if they make that allegation on being retaliated, that would be another reason to remove them from the environment. You want to protect the subject as well as the witnesses and the integrity of the investigation.
So, to the point of your investigation and the direct examination, did you try to determine whether or not there was any causal connection, cause and effect, between some sort of activity that Ms. Todd was engaged in with the PIC or otherwise, and removing her from the workplace? Were you able to find any connection between the two?
Between the PIC complaint and removal? No, none at all.
And do you even recall how long ago the PIC complaint transpired?
Several years. It was not recent. It was at least a couple of years before my interview.
Okay. Did I hear you correct to say that Ms. Todd actually said that Council Member Donovan had never engaged in retaliatory or harassing behavior towards her?
That's what she stated.
Okay. And in terms of the items that Ms. Todd highlighted, when trying to explain how she felt she was subject to a hostile work environment or retaliation, what sorts of things did she describe in terms of activities or actions taken towards her to say that she was being mistreated?
Again, she had identified what she said, numerous emails coming at her with demands in the timeline she thought was unreasonable. The presentation of the performance plan was another area. So it was a way in which she was receiving requests from council.
And there was nothing else pointed out? It was just the manner of requests coming in about information?
Correct.
She didn't assert that anybody ever yelled at her? Or,
No.
or raised their voice at her, called her any names?
That's correct. There was none of that. It was her feelings that, again, as a result of these emails, it was harassment, it was hostile. I think I mentioned earlier, she says she felt that the chief was creating a hostile work environment.
And to that point, that's actually the last thing I wanted to follow up with you about. There was some discussion about what my colleague, Mr. Fleetwood, references as animus. And you said you didn't detect any animus. What does animus mean to you, and why did you conclude that you did not detect any?
Animus would mean, a element of almost hate or anger to a point that they would be perhaps predisposed to not be honest, to affect their candor or do something maybe that might harm the individual, certainly not help them.
So you did not conclude that when you asked the chief to look and see about the status of that report, you made no conclusion that he was lying or providing misinformation to you?
Now, I hadn't. I said I found him to be credible, and there was actually some interviews with other witnesses and even witnesses in the office. Nobody said they witnessed or heard anything that would even be deemed as disrespectful or directed at Ms. Todd.
Okay. My final question, and again, it just goes to the idea of whether there's any animus from the chief. You know, is it your experience that asserting something like untruthfulness or affirmatively providing misinformation, that could be a career-ending issue for a police officer? Is that accurate?
Absolutely.
Okay. Have you seen police officers whose careers have ended because they provided misinformation?
Oh, yes, I have.
I have nothing further.
Recalls? Is it your testimony that suspension is an appropriate way to handle somebody that's complaining about harassment or retaliation?
Removing them from the workplace and the environment, absolutely.
So suspension is, if somebody complains about harassment or retaliation, you think it's an appropriate action for an employer to remove that person via suspension?
In,
Via a suspension?
well, again, the context of Ms. Todd's leave was not just solely on the claim of harassment retaliation. There was many other serious matters that we discussed today that the council looked at. So the sole reason was not just based on harassment. It just happened to be that was another counter complaint. So I don't view it as the word you use as an adverse action. It was an action to protect the integrity, as I mentioned.
Who's paying your fee for today?
Town of Greenwood,
And what are you charging?
I charge $200 an hour.
And how much have you made from this case thus far?
About $13,000.
And that doesn't include today's testimony?
That's correct.
And do you have an estimate for how much it's gonna cost the taxpayers of Greenwood?
I'm gonna object, I just don't see how this is relevant at all.
Just to buy
To the
this?
question of whether or not the things that happened here occurred, it's just totally irrelevant.
It's standard expert?
He's not being proffered as an expert.
Isn't?
There's no rules of evidence.
Answer your question. You may answer the question.
I think there's would expect a total that it could be another $5,000, $6,000. It could go as high as upper teens for my time.
Okay. So it could be up to $20,000 for your total expertise, your services?
My time, yes, could be.
All right, no further questions.
Okay. With that, we will have an opportunity, if council members sitting as hearing panel members would like to ask any questions of the witness. I will caution and guide the panel members that their questions could be subject to objection. They're not free to ask any question they want, however they want.
Any question they want?
Any question they want, howsoever they want.
Thank you.
With that, does council have any questions for this witness? Council has no questions for the witness. I have no questions for the witness. With that, I think you may be excused. Does council agree Mr. Campanella may be excused?
Yes,
He
for me.
may be excused, but I would just ask him to remain out there sequestered in case I have to recall him for rebuttal.
Then you are not actually excused,
You can just leave this.
but you may leave the witness chair and stay in your tone and zone of protection and silence.
Would you, I think, would it be acceptable to be somewhere within 15 minutes, or would you like me to stay in the lobby?
That's fine, I don't think you can stay in the lobby.
Okay, I will be within 15 minutes of recall.
Thank you. Does the town have another witness?
Yes, the town would like to call the acting town manager, Ms. Slater.
Okay, is she available?
She is.
But you- Sorry, hold on.
Just want to take a quick break before we.
I object, no, I'm kidding, it's fine.
I'm sorry, leave all this stuff here?
Leave it all behind you. None of that is yours.
No, I didn't know if it stayed or what.
All right, 5 minutes, will that be enough?
That's fine. Thank you.
We're going off, okay.
We are now off the record.
Or you're just drinking a little bit more water.